Yeah, it just muted me. My mic just muted me for no reason. As soon as I decided to go live. But anyway, in this video, I want to talk about gig apps and my experience in the gig economy. Um, a lot of people just think it's just DoorDash or it's just Uber Eats, when in reality, there's a plethora of gig apps to choose from. Now, I use multiple apps, but the main one that I use is DoorDash because that's the one that works best for me. But there's times where I venture off into the other apps that I have. Now, the apps that I use: number one, DoorDash; number two, Grubhub. Um, there's another app I also use called Hungry Panda, and that app specifically caters to Asian restaurants. They only work with Asian cuisine, strictly, nothing else. Um, there's another app called Choreo that most people don't know about because it's pretty new, and I haven't actually used it yet. Now I have turned it on a few times, and just to see, how, if an order does come through, how it looks. And I have received some orders, but I wasn't able to take them, So, but it was just experimental. But that's another app that I have, in my arsenal. Uh, I did do Instacart at one point in time. There's another one called Shipped, which is grocery grocery delivery, just like Instacart. Also, there's another one called Deliver and that's pretty much catering style orders. Um, I'm leaving out a lot of apps too. I'm just These are the apps that off the top of my head. Uh, but yeah, there's so much opportunity in this gig economy, and the one thing that people do, um, you know, mistake is they think, okay, so what happens is some people, they'll sign up for Uber Eats or DoorDash, and that's all they do. And I mean, if that's working for you, cool. But I'm telling you, it will be in your best interest to stack up. Look, add as many apps as you can, as many apps as you can find, because there might be times where shit you might get deactivated, or something might go wrong, or it might be slow on DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever. And I'm using DoorDash and Uber Eats because those are the top dogs in the gig world. Those are the big dogs. So that's those. You know, um. Also, there was another app called Caviar some years back, and this is before DoorDash bought them out. So if you do get a Caviar order, is through DoorDash. Yeah, a lot of this is a dog eat dog world out here. Yeah, and Caviar specifically worked with like high end restaurants. and DoorDash they got them because they couldn't compete. They couldn't compete with the competition, so they got ate up. Um, there was an app that Grubhub bought also. I think it's called Seamless. You know, before a lot of these smaller apps got bought, they was solo. They were their own entity. But when it comes to this game, you know, hey, the big fish win. You know, at a certain point, it's like, damn, we can't mess with y'all, so we just go. You know what I mean? We just gonna sell out to y'all. Shit. So, and there's so much opportunity. Like with DoorDash, it's not. A lot of people got it messed up. They think it's just like DoorDash with DoorDash and Uber Eats also. A lot of people think it's just strictly grocery and food. No, people are ordering all type of stuff through these apps. And when I say all type of stuff, I mean all type of stuff. Hold on one second. Checking something real quick. Oh, hold on. Yeah, like I was saying, yeah, these apps now, you get to order anything basically. I've gotten some. mm, one time I had an order for flowers on Valentine's Day. This was a few years back. Somebody ordered some flowers from this flower shop, and it was actually, I think it was a guy ordering flowers for his girl. So that was one of those. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I actually was because it was Valentine's Day. You tend to get orders like that on Valentine's Day. I'm trying to think of some other um deliveries where it was just some random stuff. Like I ain't know you can order it. um, because the thing is, um, the more that these companies keep expanding and partnering up with businesses, you're gonna get like things are gonna change. You're gonna start seeing some odd orders like that you never seen before. Like for instance, DoorDash has partnered with Home Depot, so you might get an order, even though you have to shop for it. But um, yeah, I think Matter of fact, I had a Home Depot order a few months ago. It was for like a drill set or something like that. I didn't accept it because the pay wasn't worth it to me. But yeah, sometimes you never know what you're gonna get. But that's what makes it exciting too and interesting. It's the mystery in it all. It's the mystery. I got a notification on my phone, but I can't see what the notification was for. It's weird. I hate when it does that. But and the thing with Grubhub, so Grubhub is a whole nother animal, right? So the thing with Grubhub, from my experience, it's not like it was back when I first signed up with them. Back when I first started working with them, I used to get a consistent flow of orders. Consistent. And then I got deactivated because of some quote unquote fraudulent activity. Now, the thing with Grubhub is they have this thing that they call contribution pay, where they pay you hourly. Like let's say um you're on a schedule block, right? Because you have to be on a schedule block to receive the contribution pay. The contribution pay is a set hourly pay, and it varies from state to state. In my state where I worked, which was Chicago, well Illinois, um, the hourly contribution pay was $12 an hour. I think it's still $12 an hour. So if you're not receiving, like, let's say you're scheduled for 2 hours, they're gonna pay you, like, if you don't make the uh the set amount or more, they're gonna spot you. So if you don't make at least the hourly set amount, which in my case was $12 an hour, they're going to they're gonna pay you what you didn't get, or what you were supposed to get. So let's say you only made $10 in 1 hour. They're gonna cover that. They're gonna cover the difference. But of course, um, we're trying to make more than that. You know, but they're doing that because they at least want you to make some money, even if you're not receiving orders, because you might be sitting for a long time not receiving any orders, and you can only reject, I think, one order during that block. I think it's one or two. If you reject more than that, then basically you're on your own. So, but the problem with that is, and many other people have experienced this. They will find any reason, because after you start receiving that contribution pay, after a while, they're not gonna want to pay you that no more, because that's money that they gotta, out of their pocket, that they have to pay you, and they really don't want to pay you that. That's why they'll come up with any excuse to deny you access to that. So once they claim that there's been fraudulent activity with the contribution pay, they will deny you access to contribution pay and to scheduling blocks. Now you can still toggle online or offline or whatever. You can still, work. Problem is you can't schedule blocks, and you won't be able to get contribution pay. And they did it to me. So the account that I have now, this is my second account, and they did it again, and I wasn't doing nothing. I was sitting around like the last time that I worked on a scheduled block, and when I received the contribution pay, the next day I find out I get an email talking about that there's been some fraudulent activity due to that. You've been denied access to blocks. I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck? I ain't do nothing, and they won't even explain what the fraudulent activity is. They'll just claim it as their reason for denying you access. So now I can't even, and once you get denied access, you can't even submit a claim or nothing. Once you get denied access, that's it. You're banned forever from scheduling blocks. Literally, you can't dispute it or anything, which is crazy to me. That is weird. That's one thing I don't like about Grubhub, among other things, but that's the main thing I don't like. That's crazy to me. And there's so many other people that I've heard, say the same exact thing. They could just say there's fraudulent activity. You don't have to explain nothing and deny you access forever. Like that's weird. So now with Grubhub, you know, I'm lucky. Like I'll have that thing on the whole day. I might get an order or two while I'm doing DoorDash or whatever else. I'm lucky to get anything from Grubhub. There have been so many times where I had that app on for like 8+ hours, get not one order. And if you do get one, most likely it's gonna be trash, and it's just gonna be like random, like out of nowhere, you know. But yeah, I'm pretty much done with Grubhub. I might, I still turn it on, but like, I'm not even tripping on Grubhub no more. But that's why I say it's always good. It's always beneficial to have variety. Don't just have one app. You better sign up for as many as you can find. As many. So be in it to win it. But the other app, Hungry Panda, which like I said earlier, they only work with Asian restaurants. Um they operate, they operate pretty different. Um they operate pretty different. The thing I don't like about them is they don't pay, like they'll send you, I don't even know how to explain it correctly. Basically, you don't get paid to go to the restaurant. No matter how far they try to send you, you don't get paid to go to the restaurant. And the dollar amount that they're paying you, you have to be okay with it, basically. Now I've had good experiences with that particular app, but I kind of don't like their pay system. I don't like their pay system. There's another app also that's similar to Hungry Panda. What is it called? I'm on that app also. Trying to remember the name of it. I haven't done it in a hot minute. What's the name of that app? I think it's called, what is it? Phantom, Phantom, something like that. It starts with a F. But yeah, that's another Asian. restaurant geared app, which I like. I don't like that. I don't really like that app. I like Hungry Panda a lot better, but that's another one. Um, yeah. Now with DoorDash, also they're now doing they're doing what is it called? Let me pull up that email. It's like medical supplies. It's like medical supply delivery. But I'm looking for this email. Hold on. Oh man. Oh, here it is, right here. So they're calling it healthcare orders. Now it's basically like being a medical courier. You pick up medical um this medical material. Let's say that. In fact, I can read it. I can read the email right here. Healthcare orders involve transporting time sensitive diagnostic materials between clinics, labs, and healthcare facilities. Access to this program offers higher earning potential through exclusive offer availability. Because of the sensitivity of these items, dashers must complete a legally required training and quiz before becoming eligible. Yeah. And I've already completed the training. Doesn't take that long. But yeah, that's another opportunity. And just only on that particular app. That's just another opportunity to earn some money. Yep. I want to play this. Uh, I was playing with this add-on. So let me play this real quick. This AI add-on on my web browser.
Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. 8 million people worked as dashers last year, earning over $18 billion collectively. That sounds massive until you do the math. The average dasher made just $2,250 for the entire year. Today, we're diving deep into the world of DoorDash delivery, how this gig economy giant actually works, and what life is really like for the millions driving our food around. By the end of this episode, you'll understand the true economics behind every delivery and why this industry is reshaping how we think about work itself. Let's start with my co-host who's been tracking the gig economy closely. Help me understand what DoorDash has actually become in 2026.
So DoorDash isn't just a food delivery app anymore. According to recent analysis, it's evolved into what experts are calling the operating system for local commerce. They've got a 68% share of the US food delivery market, operate in over 40 countries, and handle 2.6 billion orders annually.
Wait, 68%? That's like total market domination.
Exactly. Uber Eats has 24%, Grubhub just 8%. But here's what's fascinating. DoorDash started as Palo Alto Delivery in 2013, and the four Stanford founders actually worked as Dashers themselves to understand the pain points.
That's actually brilliant market research. So, how does this whole system work from a driver's perspective?
It's what they call a three-sided marketplace. You've got consumers placing orders, merchants like restaurants, and then the Dashers, who are classified as independent contractors, not employees. That classification is huge for understanding everything else.
Right, because independent contractors don't get benefits, minimum wage protections, all that stuff.
Exactly. And DoorDash makes money four ways: marketplace commissions from merchants, service fees from consumers, their Dash Pass subscription program, and increasingly advertising revenue that hit $1 billion run rate in 2024.
Okay, but let's talk about what drivers actually earn, because that $2,250 average seems low.
So driver pay has three components. Base pay ranges from $2 to $10 per delivery, depending on distance and complexity. Then customer tips, which average $3 to $8 per order. And finally, peak pay bonuses during busy times.
And according to recent data, drivers in 2026 are making $15 to $25 per hour gross. But that's before expenses, right?
Right, and expenses are brutal. Most Dashers spend $2 to $4 per hour on vehicle costs, gas, maintenance, insurance. So net earnings drop to $12 to $18 per hour. And remember, no health benefits, no paid time off.
That's a huge difference. What about the experience levels? Does it get better as you learn the system?
Absolutely. Beginners in their first month make $12 to $18 per hour because they're accepting most orders and learning routes. But experienced drivers who know the system can make $20 to $25, even $30 per hour during peak times in good markets.
So there's definitely strategy involved. But what are the daily challenges these drivers face?
Traffic congestion is huge. According to delivery industry analysis, traffic jams and inefficient routes cause significant delays, increasing fuel costs and driver stress. High vehicle volumes in cities create inevitable congestion, especially during peak hours.
And I imagine time pressure makes everything worse.
Exactly. Many drivers work under strict time constraints, especially with same-day or next-hour delivery expectations. A DHL UpPace report found that over half of global shoppers cite long delivery times as their biggest frustration.
So drivers are caught between customer expectations and traffic reality. That sounds stressful.
And it gets worse. Time pressure can lead to rush driving, mistakes, and increased stress. Delays in one delivery create a domino effect, disrupting the entire schedule for the day.
Let's zoom out to the bigger gig economy picture. What do we know about working conditions?
There's fascinating research from the University of Illinois that surveyed 502 app-based drivers in Chicago. The average driver has 3 years of experience and works 34 hours per week. 53% work 35 hours or more.
So this isn't just side hustle money for a lot of people.
Right. 86% depend on their app-based earnings to pay for basic expenses like food, housing, and utilities. But here's the kicker. Drivers average just $30,700 in annual income after expenses and deductions.
That's not a lot for full-time work. What about benefits and healthcare?
40% are either uninsured, rely on Medicaid, or have taxpayer-subsidized insurance. And 59% purchase their vehicles primarily for app-based driving, so they're making major investments in this work.
Wait, so they're buying cars specifically to do gig work? That changes the economics completely.
Exactly. And there's more recent data that's even more concerning. UC Berkeley research analyzing over 52,000 trips found that a majority of drivers in 5 major metro areas earned less than minimum wage after expenses.
Less than minimum wage? How is that possible?
When you factor in what they call employee equivalent earnings, adjusting for payroll taxes drivers must pay and the value of benefits they don't get, delivery workers in California made just $4.98 an hour without tips, $11.43 with tips.
That's wild. So tips are basically subsidizing the entire pay structure.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets legally complex. The U.S. Department of Labor recently introduced new rules for determining whether workers are independent contractors or employees, emphasizing economic dependence on the employer.
What does that mean for DoorDash drivers specifically?
The DOL looks at factors like opportunity for profit or loss, investments by the worker, degree of control by the company, and whether the work is integral to the business. DoorDash drivers might increasingly be seen as employees rather than contractors.
That could completely change the business model. Are there other regulatory changes happening?
Yes, and some are state specific. Indiana just passed a law filling vehicle insurance gaps for gig workers. Many insurance companies won't cover drivers using their vehicle to make money as contractors.
So drivers could be in accidents with no coverage? That's terrifying.
Exactly. The law requires companies to provide coverage while drivers are available for work but not actively on a delivery. It's filling gaps that left drivers vulnerable.
Let's talk about where this is all heading. What's DoorDash doing to evolve?
They just launched something called Tasks, a program that lets couriers earn from digital assignments beyond traditional deliveries. Think data collection and location-based work for AI and robotics projects.
So Dashers could be training AI systems while delivering food? That's fascinating.
Right, it broadens DoorDash's use cases into data collection and location-based work. For gig workers, it means more flexible earning opportunities not tied solely to meal orders.
And DoorDash keeps expanding globally. They acquired Deliveroo for $3.9 billion, entering 9 new markets, including Singapore and the UK.
They're also operating the Wolt app in Nordic countries where people prefer no-contact delivery. It's this massive logistics network that goes way beyond food now: grocery, retail, even alcohol delivery.
But what about the human cost? We're talking about millions of people in this precarious work situation.
That's the big question. DoorDash is part of a global workforce of 435 million gig workers. The Illinois study found that drivers are more likely to be men, white, and over 25, different demographics than traditional low-wage work.
Interesting. So it's not necessarily people with no other options.
Right, but they're still facing the same economic pressures. And recent data shows gig worker pay on delivery apps actually fell. Uber Eats drivers saw a 15.4% decline in gross earnings.
So even as the platforms grow and make more money, driver pay is going down?
That's what the data suggests. And it raises questions about the sustainability of this model, especially as regulatory pressure increases and drivers organize for better conditions.
What about tipping? I know that's become a contentious issue.
Tipping regulations are shifting. Regulators are examining whether tips are fungible with wages or platform revenue, and whether platforms exercise too much control over tips. Some regions are mandating tip pools while prohibiting platforms from retaining tips.
So the whole economic
Oh yes, the tipping thing is has been a huge conversation in the past years. It still is. The tipping culture is it's a big debate in that particular field. You know, some people feel like they don't need the tip. Some people feel like they want to show their delivery driver appreciation or whatever. Um, and some people try to make it a racial thing, and I see it. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I notice certain cultures like they tip less. Not saying they don't tip at all, but the likelihood of you getting a tip from certain I'm not even gonna name the culture. I'm just those who know. Certain cultures, they just don't believe in it. You know, that's not to say if you let's say you're doing a delivery, you receive an order, and the person just so happened to be a particular race or whatever. Um, uh, you know, sometimes hey, listen, I didn't even want to go down that road, but that's something I did notice, and I've been doing delivery for years. But at the same time, the cultures that people say don't tip uh is not entirely true. they tip. They just as a whole, like in the likelihood, like I said, the likelihood of you getting a tip from a culture that most people will say usually don't tip or don't believe in tipping, it's slimmer than most the other cultures. That's just what it is. But I don't even I'm at first years ago I did have that mindset. But over the years, I've noticed it's not really a culture now. Yeah, certain cultures, I still agree that you less likely to get a tip or a big tip or whatever. But it's not. It's a person thing. To be honest, is this is in the whole thing with like they say black people don't tip. That's a damn lie. Now, have I not gotten tipped by a black person? Yes, a lot of times. And matter of fact, the people who I receive tips from the least is people that be at work. That's something I noticed. People don't be talking about. Every time, most of the time, when I'm delivering to somebody that's at work, they don't tip. Or it might be a shitty ass tip, but they don't be tipping a lot of times. Now that's something I notice. That's something I'll stand by because I've experienced the shit. You know what I mean? But and I'm not gonna. It's only a few minutes left, but I'm not gonna finish this video right now. Hold on. Yeah, I'm not gonna finish that video right now. But what I will do is I will come back with another video with this similar content because I was actually testing this this extension, this browser extension. What is it called? It's called Copilot. It's called Copilot. And what I did was I made it generate AI based podcast. So the voices that you heard was just two AI voices talking to each other as if they're on a podcast, talking about gig work, which is interesting. This AI stuff is getting out of control, man. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna end this video. I ain't wanted to be too long. Uh, I was gonna stay on and talk about some other things, but I really don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. I'm about to hop in the bed and relax. But anyway, till next time.